I'm joined now on the set by Paulo Sotero, director of the Wilson Center for Brazil's Institute. And you heard in the report, we were talking about unemployment. 4.6, and this is a historic low. In America, we'd be jumping up and down, but Stephen says there's a lot of skepticism with that number. Why is that, you think?
Because the industrial economy in Brazil is still showing lots of weakness for lack of investments. The service economy that responds to about 60% of consumption in Brazil is driven, the economy is driven by consumption by families, and that is obviously booming, continues to be very strong. There is an expectation that after two negative, bad years, that the Brazilian economy will pick up this year and will grow 3.5%, 4%. So there is, and this expectation is driving this people are in the job market. In the service sector, in addition to that, there is job hoarding in Brazil. It's very expensive to fire people and to rehire people. So since there is an expectation that things are going to get better, what companies do, industrial companies including, is to keep their employees, so waiting for things to get better.
And that potentially could hurt profit margins. I mean, that's a different situation. What's the biggest factor driving the economy now for Brazil? What's the biggest positive they have for them?
I think it is after announcements of investments in infrastructure, in capital goods, etc. The fact that Brazil last year was the fourth country to attract investments after China, the United States, and Hong Kong, is predicted to be this year the third best place to invest your money. So Brazil continues to be a big attraction despite its well-known problems of infrastructure.
But it was a tough year last year, just 1%. I mean, that's almost essentially flat growth, but yet the employment numbers don't show that. And I want to ask you a little bit more about the financial reforms. You talked about this last time, that what does the government need to do to ensure there's enough stimulus or enough gas, so to speak, to keep the economy moving forward?
Continue to lower costs in the economy. They have done this to lower interest rates, lowering certain taxes. Tax reform is important in Brazil, difficult to do because the taxes have to do at the state level. The consumption tax in Brazil is run by states. This is an important factor. The other things are, give stimulus and positive indication for investments to come. This year, Brazil will have to show that investments are welcome in infrastructure, in building the things that we have to build for the World Cup, for the Olympics, and to develop the energy sector.
Well, Brazil is also a major exporter as well, not just only to Latin America, but also to Europe and to Asia and the rest of the global community. How much of an impact does a stronger macro environment have for the economy for Brazil?
Phil, the uncertainty now is precisely what's happening in the global economy. A 3.5% growth in the global economy will help Brazil grow 3.5%, 4% this year. If you have problems in the global economy, obviously, as a global trader, Brazil will be affected. But indications are, at this moment, that the situation has a better chance to improve than to deteriorate.
Since we have you, potential for the greatest surprise that we might see in 2013?
I think that people that have been looking down on Brazil, that have been discouraged, are probably going to be surprised. And by the end of this year, we'll be looking at Brazil with the optimism that Brazilians look at Brazil.
Great to have you here, Paulo Sotero. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure.